Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay, and I am joined as always by Olivia Richards. Olivia, hello.
Hey!
So, we normally introduce ourselves as being from showratings.tv, but Olivia, our site has changed.
It has!
It has.
Brand new.
Brand new. We are now tvbinges.com. And so if you want to read everything that Olivia and I write, you can visit us at tvbinges.com. You can also vote in our Binge of the Month poll. Tell us what shows to watch and then watch them with us. And you can create your own binges. So all kinds of fun stuff. Check that out at tvbinges.com.
Mm-hmm.
So today, at the roundtable, now that that business is out of the way, we're going to talk about a show that premiered Sunday night on NBC. American Odyssey is a political military drama involving corporations, politics, and military. And apparently the works of Homer. Olivia, what did you think?
I mean, I feel like we've been doing a lot of these. Like, we've been watching a lot of these, like, American political military conspiracy dramas that are just very, like, plot heavy and very, like, action packed. And it basically, that's what happened watching this last night.
I can't remember the name of the NBC show that was copying The Americans that we did, like, literally a month ago.
Oh, right.
What was it called? Do you remember?
No, it just...
About the Russian spies? It's already been canceled.
Oh my god, yeah, no, I know exactly, because I was actually trying to figure out the title before we started this, and I just completely drew a blank.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't think of it. But it shows how forgettable that is. But that's the same that's the same network, and this is very much in that vein. I feel like you just watch this pilot and it's like,
here we go again.
I'm drowning in the swamp of plot. Like, everything is so, like, plot heavy, and we're getting all these major plot revelations out of the way, and, like, the first 20 minutes we're having twists and turns, and it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know.
It's really hard because I'm not very, like, militaristically inclined. Like, I don't have a lot of prior knowledge of, like, these kind of political agendas and these kind of, like, you know, deep political workings. So, like, watching a show like this, I almost feel like you have to either be very well versed in this kind of stuff or have, like, a prior interest. Because if you just sit down and try to watch this, like, it's hard. Like, I had to do some reading before because I literally didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. It's, I mean, a lot of people, the easy comparison since the show was announced, and it was announced as Odyssey, by the way, and then, like, 2 weeks ago became American Odyssey, which we could talk about in a bit. But the early comparisons were all to Homeland, which is a drama set largely in the Middle East about United States Middle Eastern relationships, starring a woman who is involved with the government. And so you can see the surface level comparison, but it's not really Homeland. Homeland is a very different show. In Homeland, Carrie Mathis is an active CIA operative. And in this, the Anna Friel is not that. I mean, there's drastically different shows storytelling wise. What show I think this is 24. I think this
I
is
did see a comparison to that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is 24, but I think it's liberal 24, which is interesting. I feel like this show has a very thinly veiled hatred of corporations, which is interesting because 24 has a very thinly veiled hatred of government. And so I feel like in some ways this is like left-wing 24. Unfortunately it's not as like well executed as 24. And so even though, spoiler alert, I'm inclined to agree with it politically a little more than 24, I also think it's much worse. um and so that was what I was thinking of, like the Occupy um focus in this pilot, which was just weird, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. And then the guy who's basically like a character out of a John Grisham novel and finds out that he's working for an evil corporation. And then the private army bombing people, like it was all just like corporations are evil, rah rah, we're gonna rally against it. But I didn't find any of it interesting.
I didn't either, and it's hard because like I feel like in shows like this where it really loses me is because there's really like no focus on the characters or the humanity. So like we have Anna Friel's character who's like the most interesting, the one that we see
Mhm.
just because of her journey and like what we're seeing her doing and her like struggles. But like the rest of the characters are very like tropish and they're
Yeah.
very like kind of flatline, so it's like you don't get sucked in by getting to watch like humanity or watching kind of like the stories of the people interacting. Like you have to be really like kind of drawn in by the plot, but when there's so much plot happening, like what are you supposed to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. You know, this pilot just wore me out. Like I watched it
Right.
a couple hours ago. And I just worn out by the whole thing because you're trying to keep track of all of this, and it's a new show, and you're trying to get a foothold in it. But I totally agree with what you said, that it's. I mean, I guess one of my pilot tests is like, can I describe the characters in with any kind of specificity? Like, can I tell you anything about Anna Friel that isn't plot related? Can I tell you anything about Peter Facinelli's character? Can I tell you anything about the rich kid from the Occupy movement? Like, no, it's like everything I can tell you about those characters from this pilot is related to the plot. And maybe like Anna Friel's character loves her family. Great. That's a great detail. Like, what am I gonna do with? Of course she loves her family. Like, that's not like a groundbreaking revelation. But you see with all these shows, like Homeland, before Homeland ever got like into the meat of its spy story, it established like 20 things about Carrie Matheson. And this just dives right in. I mean, there's a missile attack in the first 25 minutes, and there's just I felt like there were like five things that happened in this pilot that could have happened in like a mid-season finale.
Right,
And
exactly.
we just shuffled through it all. And I don't feel like any of it stuck. I just feel like this was a just going through the motions of a very of a political drama that's trying very very hard and not doing anything particularly well.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's so hard when you're having so many details just tossed at you at once. And again, like there's really nothing to anchor it. Like there's nothing to kind of grab onto. So again, like if you don't particularly have an interest or thorough knowledge of like politics and things that were happening, it's just you were sitting there just getting flooded and
Yeah,
just drowning.
yeah. Can we talk about the hacker in this pilot? Because this was like a 1990. This was straight out of the 90s storyline where this guy who's like he's introduced as a kind of a insane person, like someone who has a clear like mental block, like he's maybe like schizophrenic or something along those lines. And he hears about the missile attack on the caravan on the news, and he immediately says this is a cover up, runs to his laptop and says I'm going to, like he tells his mother who he lives with, like, I'm going to hack into the computer, and he literally says the line, it's called hacking, ma. I was like, wait a minute. It's like,
What is happening?
but within 5 minutes he has hacked into the government. And he has called the Occupy character, whose name I did not pick up, sadly. And I'm not really worried that I didn't. But he has called him and said, "Yeah, I uncovered a huge cover-up," as if like government files were just like in Dropbox, and he guessed the Dropbox password, and there was like a file called coverup.doc, and he uncovered it.
It's just on Google. It's like the first thing that pops up.
It's the sloppiest, dumbest, like most '90s storytelling. It's like we know, like the general public is familiar with hacking by now. Like you've got to do a little bit better. Like you've got to have a little bit of effort to, instead of just like this random guy just hacks the Pentagon and like immediately like people work for years to get that kind of information. Like people who are extremely well connected and have a ton of contacts, and this guy just does it right away, and then gets offed. Yeah, it was just sloppy and dumb and plot driven. Can we talk about the decision to change the name of the show from Odyssey to American Odyssey?
Well, see, now that you added American in front of it, like we have to watch it
Right.
because nationalism and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it's so cynical. It's so like it's like, oh my gosh, people loved American Sniper. We better become American Odyssey. That way,
Oh, it
all the
hurts.
Americans will watch us.
Oh God, why?
It's like, oh my gosh, like it's so it's so transparently cynical. Like there's not even a good reason for it other than we wanted to really drive home the fact the show the show involves America. um
And again, like I feel like it's like the same kind of like narcissism you have from like first of all the themes in American Sniper and just everything about it, but then like we get the opposite of like yeah, it is like the very like cynical approach. But I'm like yeah, obviously it's America. Like we know, like we're very clued into that from what's happening in the show. Like I don't think we need to like put our brand in front of everything.
I
Like
know.
I think we're okay.
What does it add? Like that's my only question. Like what benefit, like from a creative perspective, like not a marketing perspective, like what does it add to the show for it to be American Odyssey? And I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of a single thing that it like positively adds to the show. It's just a cynical marketing ploy. I hope it fails. I want this show to fail. I really disliked this. And then like after I watched it, I saw that some of the people behind it were also involved with the following,
Yep.
which makes total sense to me, right? Like this.
With your love of the following, I know.
Oh my! The most negative thing I've ever written in my life was a review of the 6th episode of The Following, in which I basically broke up with the show and said I'm never watching it again because it bummed me out. And that show had the same kind of cynicism. Like I didn't necessarily see the cynicism on screen in this pilot, but just like the changing of the title. And I mean, for all I know, I guess that could have been done by NBC. Like that could have been out of the hands of the creators, but there's a certain cynicism to The Following where like people are expendable and everything is in service of a plot, and that's definitely present here. Like it just I don't want to point fingers, but the people behind this show and the people behind The Following do not possess the ability to portray humanity.
Yeah.
And that's I think what this is. Like every character is a plot cog. Every story takes precedence. No person feels like a person. There's no sympathy. There's no moment of like human recognition. It's just all a big story designed for our entertainment. And I think that that's what I'm really responding to negatively here, even if this pilot was much less offensive than The Following.
No, it's so true. Like I absolutely can't vibe with that. Like that's where I just start to feel like you had said before, like you just felt drained watching it. And I'm like, I don't want to be watching this anymore. Like why there's like literally zero reason for me to continue sitting here for like another 20 or so minutes.
Yes. It felt long. I think
It was really long. And there was a director's cut too. I was like, why? That's
misery. Just misery. Was there anything you liked? Any positives?
I mean, not really. I mean, I was reading like the motivation behind writing it, and like we had said before, it kind of had that like anti-corporation thing, which is like again sort of more of like my liberal perspective, but like not to this degree.
Yeah, I feel like there is a potential like decent show that could be made about corporations running amok. and like the effect that corporations have on government. The problem is that show is called The Honorable Woman, and it airs on BBC. And I would urge anyone who's even remotely interested in a show that has a very, very, very similar setup to American Odyssey, and deals with a lot of the same social issues, but does so in a way that is 100 times smarter, with way, way, way better performances. Although I like it, I like Anna Friel. I don't like anyone else in this. But even still, Maggie Gyllenhaal in Honorable Woman is gives a phenomenal, like, award-worthy performance. Everything about Honorable Woman is better than everything about this show. Bottom line. And it's a show that deals with like similar things, and there's just no reason in the world you would watch this show instead of that show. It's just none whatsoever. So even if someone thinks they liked this pilot, I would urge you to watch Honorable Woman instead. Okay, so that about wraps that up. Positive episode. Olivia, formality, but final verdict, thumbs up or thumbs down on American Odyssey?
It's going to be a thumbs down for me.
Yeah. I don't know. Of course. Come on, NBC.
We can do better.
Come on, NBC. NBC, you brought us Parks and Recreation, so I'll love you forever, but let's pick it up a bit here. Yeah, thumbs down. Hopefully NBC will come up with something better here shortly. So that wraps up this episode of the Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. You can follow Olivia and I on Twitter at RichardsOlivia and at Kyle Loves TV. And you can read everything we write at tvbinges.com. That's tvbinges.com. You can follow that site at tvbinges. Until next time.